If there's one thing I used to be good at, it was wasting my bread. From not knowing how to invest properly to substance dependencies to some diabolical bar tabs every weekend, I used to make some heinous money moves that, had I not learned from, I'd be in a bad place right now. And look, I'm no Elon Musk, but I've been able to cut out a lot of stupid spending behaviors as I've gotten older, and it's provided me with a certain level of freedom that, I'm extremely grateful to have. So today, let's talk about how you can waste all your money. So first I want to talk about investing like a moron, right? Because they don't teach us in school how to invest, which is convenient, right? But we do know it can really help your financial situation, and it's a beautiful thing. But you can get burnt just as easily. And there's a misconception that just because you're setting money aside somewhere and buying stocks, you're being smart with your money, like regardless of what you're buying. And this is, a dangerous misconception, especially for a younger, idiotic version of myself, right? So it's important not to overextend yourself while investing, especially if you don't have liquidity. I mean, if you look at the market right now, some people are viewing this as the end of the world, right? Because they're down so much money, maybe they were in for a short term and they're like, holy shit, I just lost this amount of money. Others are viewing this as a discount sent from God himself, right? So you should always have liquidity. It's important. And I think as a young dude, the worst mistake that you can make is thinking that you're smarter than these massive institutions with billions of dollars behind them. Like I used to just buy shit because I thought, this is a good company, no research, no logic, just a fry boy with some money to spend, right? And I used to think I was investing, but now I know, looking back, what I really was doing was just giving away my money to somebody who already has way more of it than I do, right? So what I learned is that investing isn't about, throwing money at a company just because the stock price is cheap and you think it should go up, right? And I'm not a financial advisor, obviously, but after getting burnt over and over when I was younger, I now look at stocks in a certain lens, right? And it's like I look at anything else. The more valuable something is, the more it's going to cost. And this same logic translates to companies and their stock prices, right? So me buying a cannabis company because it was only $2 a share is fucking stupid, right? And I've learned through experience and just failure over and over that 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be the guy who finds this penny stock that goes massive, right? And you can really, there's just nothing worse than putting hard-earned money aside with the goal of growing it and just losing it, because it's like, damn, I should have just spent that shit. Like, that would have been more fun to spend or go travel somewhere, right? So you need to diversify so that when the stock market as a whole goes up, so does your portfolio. And this may sound super basic, I get it, but when I first started investing and knew nothing about the market, I'd be like, why is the market outperforming my portfolio? Which is like, I mean, I was an idiot, right? But that should never be the case. And it was because I was holding a lot of these dumb-ass companies and I was too invested in certain industries and not in others. Index funds are the way to go. Take a little piece of the top companies, that's where, so when the market goes up, your portfolio goes up, and you never really have to worry because zoom out of that chart and it always goes up, right? But if you're going to invest in single companies, like, you need to be 100% positive that it's a strong company that will consistently be turning a profit in the future. Like, I made this mistake so many times. I'm like, oh, like, how is no one talking about this company? Like, I use this product or I do this. And it's like, there's so much going on behind the scenes that you don't know as an investor. You just really need to trust a single company if you're going to invest in it, right? Or else you're going to get burnt. I think probably 90% of the time. You want to use investing to build, right? It's not going to make you rich overnight. And I think there's that conception. I don't know where that came from, but I definitely believed in it. But you're just going to end up losing money and giving it to other people, which is like crazy, right? And I want to make actually a bunch of videos about investing just because there's so much to talk about here. But if there's one thing I want to highlight in this video in terms of wasting money and not wasting money, it's to follow where the big money goes, right? So that's all I'll say for now. But next, and this one really did me dirty, was addictions. In terms of wasting money, like I was 15 when I first got addicted to nicotine. I used to play baseball a lot, so my first introduction was with chewing tobacco, and then, all of a sudden by 16, you couldn't catch me without a Juul in my hand. Like I would literally fall asleep with that shit in my hand, wake up, rip it first thing in the morning. It's disgusting. A pack of Juul pods was give or take $20, and I was going through 2 of these a week. And at the time, and in the mindset of an addict, it didn't feel like a lot of money because this was a need at the time. So I was gonna make it happen regardless. But man, like to this day, I cringe when I think about how much this actually costs me, because we're talking $40 a week, sometimes more, for 8 years. And for what? Like literally nothing. A lot of my friends were actually able to get a big bag back from Juul as part of this class action lawsuit, which is, I'm happy for them, but my dumb ass didn't sign up because this was way back in 2019. But that makes me happy, at least, because it's like, shit, we were kids, man. We were not supposed to get addicted. We were the generation that was off the cigarettes. I was at first. And then all of a sudden, I have this crippling, addiction. And I mean, now I know better than anyone how hard it is to stop a nicotine addiction. But I think just starting with acknowledging how much you're paying for nothing in return is a good place to start, and just take it from there, And I also had a nasty dependency on weed, which you don't realize until you stop is not a cheap habit to maintain. It might not be as physically addicting as nicotine, but it was something that I felt like I needed every night, and I was going to get it every single night, right? So now I'm grateful to be off both. My bank account and my mental state are thankful for this, but, this one never sat right with me, and even when I was addicted, because this is money that you're giving away for nothing in return. If anything, it's pain in return, right? And it could be invested. It could be used to travel, like buy things for the people that you love. It's just really doesn't sit right with me. And I never had, obviously this addiction shit it goes up. It could be a lot worse than nicotine and weed. And, I have friends who are addicted to a lot harder drugs, right? And it's sad, man. And it's not easy to stop, but I think, just looking back how much money I spent on this, it really sticks out and bothers me. So if you can avoid that, or just at least become aware of it, that's a good place to start, right? Next, I want to talk about, and this one pisses me off, I'm not going to lie, gambling, right? This is getting ridiculous now. Like the amount of advertising these sports gambling companies are doing is insane. I can't even watch sports without seeing, FanDuel and DraftKings plastered all over the screen. We got Kevin Hart telling kids to download FanDuel on every other commercial. It's all over the fucking court. Like, it's just everywhere. It's gross, in my opinion. And I think there needs to be some legislation there or something, because it's just, it's dangerous. And thankfully I never really got lost with gambling. I've definitely wasted some hard-earned money here, and it's easy, man. It's fun, right? And don't think for a second that this is anything that can help you make money, even if it feels that way. Especially if you're someone like me who already struggles with impulse control, right? So just like stay away. Or if you're gonna partake, like at least view it for what it is, which is a vice that costs money in exchange for a chemical reaction. Just like, drinking, smoking. That's the way to view it, because that's really what it is. And the thing is, like, we grew up with this shit. It's not like we were protected at all. I remember I was like 14 ripping roulette and blackjack using CSGO skins and having no idea of the implications, right? And then, even in college, like me and my roommates lost a fuck ton of crypto on this game called Crash. This website, it was called Roobet or something. And, but that's more blatant. I think now with sports, it's way too normalized and ingrained in our culture. And usually, luckily, I stay far away from it. I think part of that's just because of, I think the whole advertising thing, someone who's in digital marketing, it's just disgusting to me. Um, but last year the Knicks went on a playoff run, and I'm a huge Knicks fan. I was throwing a lot of money on each game and making a lot of money on each game, and it was like, whoa! All of a sudden, I had this massive balance, lost it all in one game, and that was that. Like, what a shit feeling, right? And the danger isn't in the losses; it's more in the big wins, because you end up chasing that dragon for years. I think there's nothing worse than, especially if you're just getting into gambling and you get a big win, like that can really change someone's life, which is just, in my opinion, like fucked up, right? I have friends who are straight addicts, and like I get the appeal, man, especially because I love sports. So the idea of watching sports and making money at the same time, it's like too much for the male brain to comprehend, and I think that's why people get carried away. And I always get, pics of crazy parlay tickets and, the wins, but that shit is just always going to be a dead end, bro. Like, thinking about the billions of dollars that these companies are spending every quarter just to get you on the app, the free money promotions, it's so transparent. It's because, at the end, they're going to take your money away from you, no matter how much of a winner they make you feel like. So yeah, anytime someone tries to like flex me their parlay or their big money line bet, whatever, which I think we need to collectively stop doing, because I promise you, whoever you're showing that to doesn't care. But I asked them to show me like their career winnings on like their profile tab, and to this day, I've never seen someone who actually made money. Or maybe they're up like $2, even though they're so emotionally invested and it takes up so much of their mental time and energy, right? Plus, like, it takes away the real fun of the game, man. Like, I love sports. I love watching the Yankees because I love the Yankees, not because I want them to score a certain amount of runs or under a certain amount of runs. You know what I mean? So avoid gambling just in general. I think it's really one of those traps that they want us to fall into. Next is going out every weekend. So I think when you're younger and in high school and college, there's this pressure to go out every weekend, and you're only going to be young this once, and social media makes it seem like everyone's having the time of their life every time they go out, right? So you watch that and you're like, damn, I should be out there. And I didn't think that when I got older I would still feel this pressure, but I did. I kept going out every weekend to some bar just because, I didn't want to miss anything almost, right? And I quickly learned, like, holy shit, these bar tabs, the club, whatever, really start to add up, and I can't keep doing this every weekend. And maybe my view on this is skewed a little bit because everything's so expensive over here. But like, dude, a vodka soda in New York is like $20. A beer is like $15. And it wasn't until I got comfortable with just chilling at the crib some weekends, not going out or doing something that doesn't require me to spend money or go, do a lot of drinking. Is that's when I realized how much money I was wasting, right? And I also realized it's just better for my health to get some rest on the weekend. Like, that's really what they were meant for, right? Like, there's nothing worse than waking up after a night out and feeling like shit and just being like scared to check your balance because you spent a ton of money. And I've been there. Even worse is clocking into work on Monday and you feel more tired than you were on Friday and you just have to grind through the week just to do it again. And I swear this accelerates aging. It just like eats away at you. And look, I'm no saint in this regard. Like, to this day, I go out and maybe spend too much money every once in a while, but the amount of weekends where I didn't get any rest and just drank, spent a ton of money has definitely decreased, and I can say I'm better off for it, and that's not just financially. And you might say, like, okay, why don't you just go out and not spend money on drinks or just drink water? And I wish I could move like that. I really do. I am jealous to those who can, but for me it's like I'm either in or out, and that's with a lot of things that I do in life. It's harder for me to get that in between, so plus, like, now when I do go out for a special occasion, a birthday or something, it's more fun. Gone are the days where I'm going out just for the sake of going out. And my wallet, my liver are thankful. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying, isolate yourself at home every weekend and never go out and be social, because that leads to a lonely, depressing existence, And what I'm saying is don't feel pressure from others to go out just to go out. Like, it's okay to say no sometimes. Just make sure to spend that time wisely, not just rotting away in isolation. So I wanted to spend more time on the things that I think a lot of us deal with, but I do have some honorable mentions as well. The first being dating above your means, like pretending like you're some baller. Especially if it's the first date, like don't take her to a restaurant because what if she sucks, right? I've been there. I wasted money on dates with, a girl that I just didn't even like. And, let's say you do like her, you're setting her expectations, you're pretending to be someone you're not, maybe taking her somewhere expensive. And then it's like, are you going to keep up that persona and go broke over this? Or, the truth is going to have to come out eventually, right? And I feel like cheaper dates are usually more fun anyway and less pressure. The next is buying things that you could just make at home. So for me, it was coffee, right? I used to buy a coffee every single morning at this deli. And, I still do sometimes, but I realized, like, shit, this is costing me $4 every day. It's a black coffee, right? So just make that shit at home. Because $4 times 365, it adds up quick, right? And the next is, like, if you're lucky enough to live at home in your early 20s, which, I understand, like, not everyone has that privilege, but do that. Save that money. That rent money is literally being burnt, especially because, chances are you're living in some shithole with your friends instead of at home because you want to be, independent or whatever. And I get it. I totally understand it, but that adds up so quickly. So if you can, I'd say definitely live at home. It might feel like you're moving backwards, especially if, you were just at college. But financially, it's a really smart decision. So, look, everyone's situation is going to be different, right? And I know a lot of this is circumstantial. Like I said, I tried to focus on the things that I think a lot of people deal with. I'm extremely grateful of my situation and the lessons that I've learned growing up. And I think just in general, like, don't take anything for granted. No matter how shitty your situation feels, just remembering, like, there's someone that has it 10 times worse is really important. But that's it for me, guys. I will talk to you later. Peace.